This is the search for Siletzia. Previously, I ended my journey with a little nap, thinking about terrains and collisions, and the view from the top of Mount Doug. It was pretty cool. But my search for Siletzia led me to an outcrop of pillow lava that was part of the Carmoutzen Formation. But I am not deterred in my search. So I have one last look at this beautiful spot, and I grab my bags, and I move on. I decide to head back downtown to recenter, and it seemed to me no matter where I went on the bus, there was bedrock to be found. And once I made it back downtown to the harbor, I was finding a lot of the same thing. Just a lot of bedrock everywhere. And that just left me with more questions. So I decided to end the day and head back home and do some reading. At first, I wanted to focus on the Metchosin Igneous Complex. So I just went through the book and I highlighted everything in purple that had to do with it. Places that I could go and just learning everything I could possibly learn about the Metchosin Igneous Complex. And the more that I read, the more that I realized I needed to learn more about this Leech River Fault. So I did a little bit more highlighting and trying to understand that and looking at maps. And that ultimately led me to this pile of maps, my book, and trying to figure out a plan. The maps that I kind of landed on are this one here, which is a little bit daunting in the black and white, but it's down here. The other map is a little bit closer of a version. This one kind of answers most of my questions about the different types of rocks in Victoria. But this is Siletzia. Now the Leech River Fault is the boundary from what is Siletzia and what is not. So with this newfound information, I mark up some maps and I gather my things, including my new drone, which I can't wait to try out. And I head out, pausing briefly to stop at Timmy's for a beverage, of course. Okay, break over. So today on the bus, I'm heading towards a place called Metchosin, which is just to the west of Victoria. Oh, crap. Shit. I gotta rewind a bit. So during my reading last night, I spent a bunch of time with these pages. So Whitty's Lagoon, spot number 9. So there's a bunch of spots. So Mount Douglas was number 2, and Cordova Bay was number 5. There's a bunch of other ones here, all these different spots. Anyway, spot number 9, Whitty's Lagoon, is actually the Metchosin Igneous Complex, and there's a few different outcrops, like this waterfall, and then there's stuff. There's a couple of islands. Anyway, I programmed all these spots into my phone. So up here, there's Cordova Bay and Mount Douglas. And then to the west of Victoria, where I'm heading, there's Whitty's Lagoon, Tower Point, it's another place. Okay, I think we're caught up now. We're back on the road, and I'm using my phone with Google Earth to look at all the spots. So I trust by now that you realize how tedious working with Google Earth is on my iPhone. So I'm just going to use full screen here for now. Anyway, I'm about halfway en route to Whitty's Lagoon, just down here. And I've been thinking about all these locations that I've been reading about, like Cordova Bay and Mount Douglas, and I wanted to reorganize so that it made a little bit more sense. So this is what I came up with. In red, these are places that are not Siletzia, and then over this way here is these yellowish locations are part of Siletzia. So, for instance, Cordova Bay, we know that is not Siletzia. It's part of the Carmoutzen Formation, which is also pillow lava. And then I did some reading about Mount Doug, and it turns out that it's metamorphic gneiss. And actually, most of the locations in downtown Victoria are metamorphic, either gneiss or something else along that is metamorphic. So like Cattle Point is also gneiss, and so is Mount Ptolemy, Finlayson Point, and they're actually part of a larger formation called the West Coast Crystalline Complex. But I digress. Wheaties Lagoon. I might jump back and forth between Metchosin Igneous Complex or Siletzia. They're both the same. Right, okay, so these blue locations here, so this is where I currently am right now, a little ways out, but these other blue locations that I've marked are locations that are on the Leech River Fault. Figured they might come in handy as I make my way down here and possibly go across the fault. Okay, back to the bus ride. About halfway there. Whoa! Anyway, so I'm reading about Whitty's Lagoon and the pillow lava. And on the next page, there's this section about the Leech River Fault and how it fits into the stratigraphy of Siletzia. And then I get distracted by an outcrop. So I got the Gabbro sheeted dikes, and then here's the submarine volcanics. So the pillow lava would be in this area, but then they've got this other stuff up here. So there's subaerial volcanics, and then it meets up with the Leech River Fault. So again, the Leech River Fault keeps coming up. So I have an idea. I pull out my phone. Once again, Google Earth to the rescue. Okay, so new plan here. I'm going to... So the fault is really easy to see right here. The Leech River Fault's really easy to see right there. But once it makes this little turn and heads off towards Glen Lake and Esquimalt Lagoon, it gets a little dicey here. I mean, there's some areas that could be the fault. Anyway, my plan here to trace out the fault. Okay, so I'm just going to start at a place that I can actually see it. Just adding 1 point at a time. It does go through Leechtown. And after this it gets a bit fuzzy, but I do know that it goes through Glen Lake. This is Glen Lake right here. It does go through Glen Lake and Esquimalt Lagoon. And I assume, well, we'll try there for the last point. Now, let's go have a look along the fault. Okay, so new plan. I'm gonna head up to Goldstream on the bus, and I'm gonna, looks like there's a path here, Humpback Reserve. I'm gonna go up there and use my drone and see if I can find the fault. Well, this looks like it could be the fault. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to go up with the drone and see what we can find. All right, Goldstream, here we come. So after a few minutes of strenuous hiking up a hill, I make my way to the Humpback Reservoir, and I'm going to get my drone ready and have a look north, and then look the other way down towards Glen Lake and to Esquimalt Lagoon. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, pretty cool, except for the fact that I was spending the majority of that video looking at these two hills, which have nothing to do with the frickin' fault, which is that way. I looked up there for all of like half a second, but at least I got a sense of where I'm going, which is that way towards Glen Lake. And on the way, there's actually all this new development happening here. So there's a lot of fresh outcrops, which I get to check out.
Really cool outcrop. I'm just gonna go check it out.
So it doesn't look like much from here, but this is the spot that I checked out. Now, it was really windy up there that day, so I took a bunch of footage. So I'll try to narrate what I saw here. So there's all these different, I guess melange is the right word. So it goes from one type of rock to another. So we got darks and then lights, and then we've got these light bands that go through. And this is all because of these. So here's another one right here. Goes from this kind of greenish rock to like a dark gray rock. There's quite the contact right there. Anyway, there's tons of these on this outcrop, and I was just like I'm fast forwarding this just because I spend so much time here. There's some more right here. Right there, there's a very dark black next to like a green. And then here, there's another one. It's like a dark on the left-hand side, and then there's light on the other hand side. And then here's like a black dike, basically, that's kind of going up there. And yeah, so I'm just having a time of my life, kind of just checking this out. This is just freshly dynamited out, all these different types of rocks. Pretty darn cool. Yeah, so I mean, you can see it here on this Google Earth version of it. Like, there's a lot of different types of rocks here. Anyway, I'm going to move on here, and so I'm going to go from here over to Glen Lake.
So this is Glen Lake. Anyway, the literature says that the Leech River Fault is somewhere down the middle of there. So anything on this side, it's going to be Leech River Complex, and anything on this side of the lake, it's going to be part of the Metchosin Igneous Complex, any of the bedrock that we find anyway. And the ocean is probably, I don't know, another 5 clicks that way. So I think I might just hop on a bus and head that way. Okay, we are here at the beach. All right, so I read the book and I need to head that way. So I'm gonna head that way.
It's a pretty long stretch of beach. I start about here and make my way down to here. So almost 3 kilometers.
Okay, so well, this is where we ended up on Google Earth. So that was Albert's Head Lagoon, and I guess that's Lovebird Rock. The location is not in the southern Vancouver Island book of locations to go and check out, and definitely not in the locations that are mentioned as Metchosin Igneous Complex, i.e. Siletzia, but I can pretty confidently say that it is part of Siletzia because here's the map of the Leech River Fault, and it clearly is on this side here of the fault. So I'm going to say, although it's not in any book, I'm going to say that this spot is Siletzia. I didn't see any pillow lava, but that's all right. Clearly there's much more to Siletzia, as you saw in the diagram, that there's more than just pillow lava. It's a whole complex, so there's subaerial stuff. Anyway, I'm done at this spot, so I'm going to head back to here and wait for the bus. I will see you next time. Here's a little song to see you off.